I'm Sophia. Let's see how many people. We only have 4 people. Okay, we're live, right? Yes. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Sophia, and this is Skylar. And today we are going to be doing a stream on like studying AP World History and like tips and tricks and like really like how to study. So yeah. Anything you want to say about yourself?
I took the class last year. I took it independent study. Just relax and it'll all be fine.
Yes, I took it last year too. I was a sophomore and I got a 5 on the exam. So hopefully I have some good tricks and tips to help you guys study. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. So again, this is the Fiveable social media. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep updated with all the streams and everything that's going on. So in this stream, we're going to be going over a number of stuff. We're gonna teach you, or Skylar's gonna teach you how to write proper notes, and we're gonna do how to stay on top of work, time management, studying for tests, helpful resources, tips and tricks, and then we'll have a question Q&A at the end if you guys have any questions. And yes, Jillian's doing a stream on medieval Europe tomorrow, so you guys should definitely check that out.
Okay. Oh, you can just delete that or move it to the side. I don't know why that's there. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about writing notes in this first portion. I did a stream on it, I want to say like 2 weeks ago. So if you want to learn more of an in-depth thing about it, you can check that out. What in tarnation?
I'm gonna have to like go on the actual thing to move it. Hold up.
Okay. Anyway, we can start sort of discussing. Leave in the chat, how do you feel about writing notes, 1 to 5? 5 being, yay, I'm really confident with this. 1 being, I don't really know how to write notes. Yeah, just leave that number in the chat. Well, that's fine. I guess you don't have to participate if you don't want to. So the first question is, what should I take notes on? Now, number 1 thing I would say is historical themes, and how convenient that's right in the middle of the screen. So theme 1 is humans and the environment, and that's basically covering how humans shape the environment and how environments shape humans. The second theme is cultural developments and interactions. So this could be like how different religions have interacted, how different groups have interacted, how the meshing of ideas have caused these new different ideas. An example of that would be, you have all these trade routes that are coming and they're having all these different religions that are sort of intermingling. You also have themes of governance, themes of economic systems. Those 2 are pretty self-explanatory. You have social interactions and organization. So I feel like social, I guess a 4. Oh yeah, sorry. I think Sophia's working on that right now. And then theme 5 would be social interactions and organizations. So usually when we imagine that theme, it's mostly focused on different groups talking to each other, different groups meeting. And then the last theme is technology and innovation. Now, this is a new theme for this year, so I'm not 100% familiar with it, but it's basically just people inventing these new ideas and new inventions. How are we going with?
I think I got it. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna have to reshare my screen again or what for it to update. Let me reshare my screen.
Okay. How's everyone's weekend going?
Yep, it's Saturday. Okay, let me. Okay, presenter view. Okay, let me just. Okay.
Okay, well, the next thing that we should sort of remember when we're taking notes is cause and effect. So cause and effect is important because you can sort of see how different events have led to each other.
Is it better now? Or?
Oh, it's fine. You can move it anywhere.
Is it moved though?
It's like in the bottom corner.
Oh shoot. Is that fine or no?
I mean, yeah, the bottom is just an example of notes, but that's okay. So, cause and effect is important to take notes on, and comparisons. So there's one of the essays that you guys have to write usually in the LE is the LEQ. And with the LEQ, one of the questions is usually comparing and contrasting some sort of different method. So if you compare and contrast different societies, different groups in your notes, you'll be more prepared for your essays. In addition, you want to find a structure that works for you. So I do this weird mixture of like mind map notes and like a traditional simple note system. And basically what that means is I like to show, I'm a very visual person. Here you can see in the slideshow on the left, sorry, I don't know, left or right. On the right, you can see an example of this mind map. On the left, you have Cornell, and on the bottom, you can sort of see it. That's like a simple note-taking method. So find something that works for you. Everyone's sort of different in the way that they learn best. So if you can find one that's really good and visual, or however you like to learn, whatever most effective. And then the next thing, we should remember to filter out unnecessary information, because you don't want your notes to be way, way, way too long. You can just read your textbook if you want that. Anything you want to add?
No, I agree with the last point though. Like notes, it's very good to like, have detail and all, but don't let it like overflow. Try and like get to the point, like what points are probably the most important that you need to know. Don't try and add like extra information. Like I know personally when I take notes, I like to write everything down, but like that's not very effective all the time. So yeah. Okay. So the next thing that's pretty important is to stay on top of work and time management. I know a lot of us, we don't like to read the textbook. It's like 30 pages per chapter, but it's important to stay on top of the work and be with the curriculum so we don't fall behind, because it's going to catch up before the AP exam if you have to go and learn everything that you didn't read and all of that. So I would say always do your homework as early as possible. I know that's not ideal for most of us, but it really helps. If you do your homework, maybe spread out reading the chapter. Like if you have a week to read the chapter and you spread out the pages within that week, it'll be much easier than, as the second point says, putting it off to the last minute. It'll be less stressful and you'll have to read less, so you'll be able to absorb the information better. So again, as the second point says, don't put it off to the last minute. You don't want to be, if your chapter is due Monday night, you don't want to sit there Sunday night trying to read 30 pages and trying to absorb all the info that the text is going to give you, because it is a lot of information. So again, I would spread it out and try and do your work as early as possible. The third point is very important. You should definitely read the textbook. Don't like try and say, oh, I don't need to read this. The notes in class are enough. You need to read the textbook, because the textbook has a lot of information that your teacher might not be able to give you in class, because again, it's a lot of history and you don't always have that time in class to go over every single piece of history. So I would highly recommend that you read the textbook and don't just try and like avoid doing it. The fourth point kind of ties in with what I said before. As hard as it is, try not to procrastinate. I know we all like to keep our work till the last minute and study the last minute, but it's very important to not do that, because if you do that, you're not going to be able to learn it as well. If you leave again everything to the last night and you try and study or cram all your studying for the last night, you're not going to remember everything. And again, if you try doing your homework on the last minute, it's just going to add on to all your stress. So yeah. I can't read the next point. Hold up. Oops. If you're not motivated, remember the goal. At the end, we all want to get a good score on our AP exam. We want to pass. We want to get a 4 or 5. And if we want to do that, we're going to have to not procrastinate. We're going to have to read the textbook. We're going to have to do our homework. You can't just get by the class not doing much and only relying off of like the notes that your teacher gives you. You're going to have to put in the work if you want that 4 or 5. And again, the next point, do your work little by little. So as I said, don't put it off to the last minute, spread it within the week. And this is useful if you like do a sport or you have a club after school or you do something else, because if you have extracurriculars, you're not going to have as much time to dedicate to your homework and to your studying. So I would recommend doing it little by little. And again, read over notes. Whenever you get time during the day, just read over maybe what you've learned like the last week or just anything. It'll help you just remember the notes and keep it inside your long-term memory so you're not constantly like forgetting everything.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go. I was just gonna ask.
I mean, I have like a 50-minute bus ride every morning. So like in the weeks leading up to the test, I would always just read over my notes every day.
And I think Donald put a link in the chat for how to plan your day and how to organize it so you're not just like cramming everything and all. So
I can link that into the slideshow for you guys.
Okay. Link it. Okay.
Okay. So we have some helpful resources for sort of going over AP World. Number one, we got Fiveable, but you guys already figured that one out because you're all here. I discovered it in like March of last year from YouTube, and honestly, it was a lifesaver. I took the class independent studies, so I didn't really have a teacher. And just to have people explain stuff to me and really be able to answer my questions, it was really helpful. Next, I would say get a prep book. Prep books are great. I had to use a prep book as my textbook. I used the AMSCO book. I swear by it. I really love it. It's so helpful. I also used Princeton Review closer to the school year, like closer to the test. And I found that it was good, but AMSCO had more relevant information and was sort of more in-depth. ASAP, that's one that's also made by Princeton Review. And it's a really good book for visual learners. They have all these maps and diagrams, so you can really see history. And then there's also the Kaplan one. Have you had any experiences with prep books?
For AP World History, I got the Kaplan, but I didn't use it as much. Most of the time I use Fiveable, or as Skylar will discuss next, I use like Freemanpedia. I made my own Quizlet, and I use the College Board curriculum a lot. So I actually didn't use textbooks much. Much of my studying came from like Fiveable and more of online resources.
And then next we have Freemanpedia. Freemanpedia is this awesome website, and it was created by, I believe, an AP World History teacher. Oh yeah, AMSCO is a lifesaver. We've got some testimonies to how great it is. Anyway, Freemanpedia is really helpful. It goes over all of the chapters in sort of a concise way, so you can really, it's more visual too, so you can really understand the history. Really great website. I recommend it. And then you have Crash Course World History. I think in the week leading up to the AP test, I watched every Crash Course video 3 times. John Green's very entertaining in the way that he teaches history and very in-depth. Then I would say Quizlet. There's this huge Quizlet set with a few thousand terms, and it just has everything you really need to know for the test. So maybe you'll see the word, oh no, what does sedentary mean? I don't know. But then if you go on that Quizlet, it'll show you exactly what you need. And then you have the AP World Curriculum on College Board. This can help you sort of target your studying. It can tell you how much of like each chapter is on the test.
Yes. I actually made a Quizlet for AP World History. So if you find that helpful, like making your own flashcards, but you don't want to like write them all out, I'd say Quizlet is very helpful. Yes, I definitely recommend Freemanpedia. They're awesome. And I personally also use the College Board curriculum a lot, like as Skylar said, to target my studying. So I knew what exactly to study and like how to study it. It makes your studying so much easier. Studying for the test. So studying, I don't know do you guys have a way to study? Like, do you guys know like which ways that you prefer to study, or are you guys still like unsure like what to study or how to study and all of that? Yes or no? don't know, have we had audience participation yet? Okay, either way. I would say don't only use your notes. Notes aren't, as I've said before, they're not enough to get you by for studying because there's so much content outside of the notes that you get in class that you're going to need to constantly learn and go back to, like, I don't know, like the small stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. Use other resources again, as I said from the previous slide, Freemanpedia, AMSCO, any prep books that you have. Quizlet, study well in advance before the test. So usually your teacher will tell you maybe like a week or a week and a half before your test that you're going to have a test. Don't try and cram it all on the last night. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able to remember everything. You're not going to study as effectively because you're just going to be even more stressed that you have a test. There's a lot of content per unit. It's a lot. So I would recommend, again, spreading out your studying. So you're studying maybe like a continent each day, or like you're going in chronological order, but just try and spread it out some way. Again, if you prefer to study this way, make flashcards for each unit. I did that, and it helped me to study better because I was able to, look back at words that I didn't know. And when I type stuff down or when I write stuff down, it helps me remember better versus if I'm just looking at the definition. Go back to your textbook and your notes. Sometimes I like to rewrite. I go back to the textbook and I rewrite my notes. I just feel like it helps me remember the information better and it's stored in my long-term memory. Yes, it's good to read your textbook 20 to 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Don't try again, as I said, cram everything the night before, cram 30 pages of studying. It's good to constantly look back at the info that you've learned so it doesn't disappear from your memory just like that. Again, organize how you study. Maybe you want to study continent by continent. Maybe you want to study in chronological order. Whichever way, try and organize your studying, try and narrow it down so that you're not going all over the place every day. Again, look at the College Board curriculum. They specifically tell you what you need to know from each time period and from each continent. So I think that would be really helpful for you to organize your studying. Do you have any other tips for studying?
I have to think. I like the flashcard idea. My sister, she goes through probably 10 packs of flashcards every year, and she swears by them. I'm not big into them. They're pretty good, though. I know that at Barron's, they have like 800 flashcards for AP World. I don't know if they've updated it for this year, though. But those, I would imagine those would be helpful. I mean, I feel like if you have maybe you're in a study hall and you have a quiz next period, it would be helpful to look back at your notes just if you really want to study fast. Otherwise, do whatever works for yourself.
Yeah. If something doesn't work for you, then don't do it. Everyone studies in different ways, and one way isn't better than the other. It's just how you can remember and process the info the best.
Okay, so now we're going to go over a few tips and tricks for AP World. I feel like we briefly mentioned this before, but designate a time every day that you can do AP World. For me, that was whatever time at night I got back from band practice or basketball. And it's sort of, the more I did it, the more it became a habit for me. And that was really helpful because I am a procrastinator. I really put my work off until the last minute. But when I have my AP World time, I know, okay, I have to do that now. I'm not going to procrastinate. And then another thing you can do is take notes on your notes. So this is a little weird, it's a strange technique, but if you notice that, you really want a study guide for something, if you treat your notes like a textbook and then write in the Google Doc or on your, in a notebook, the key points from it, you can sort of create a study guide sort of. And then if we're talking about in-class notes, you want to figure out what the teacher emphasizes the most. So maybe this could be in class, you hear them talking about this one thing over and over again. You might hear them saying, oh, Maine, 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 when they're talking about World War I. They're talking about, militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. So if you hear them say that constantly, you'll know, okay, that's important. Or you could go to them after class and say, what do you think were some really important things that I should have that should have really paid attention to in this. Another thing is practice, practice, practice. You want to take so many practice tests for AP World because the more you understand the test, the more you understand what you need to work on. For example, I knew I was really good at the multiple choice questions, but I wasn't very good at the DBQ. So I just had to practice DBQs constantly. In addition, you should know your themes. We went over this. We went over the themes a little earlier. But here's something that I figured out last year. There are so many essay questions about trade routes. I found like every 2 years there's always one question, and that applied last year. I don't know if it's still going to be as prevalent this year because they changed the time periods, but if you study anything for your essay questions, study trade routes, okay? I did that like the night before the test, and I was like, and then when I had it on the test, I was so excited. And then in addition, you want to know how to analyze documents. If you look on the right of the slideshow, you can sort of see that I made this list, and these are things that you should look for when you're analyzing documents. So you want to look for who is writing the document, who is the document about. You want to look at what. So what is the main idea of the document? Where is the document from? What location is it discussing? When was it written? Or also what time period is it pertaining to? And then why was the document created? And these can all sort of help you figure out how to analyze the document. Do you have any other tips?
No, I think you pretty much said them all. But yes, I want to emphasize on the practice, like especially like time management, like with the LEQ or like especially with the DBQ, because you have to read I think it was 7 documents, and you have to be able to write a full essay on that. So I would work on practicing because you really need to know how to manage your time in the short amount of time that they give you to write those essays.
Honestly, I feel like my biggest regret with AP World last year was not taking more practice tests.
Yeah.
I didn't start until like the end of April, and I probably should have started, end of March, beginning of April. Then I probably wouldn't have been so stressed with the DBQ.
Yeah, I remember I went over the time limit that you were supposed to use on the DBQ, and I was like, I need more time for the LEQ. I don't know. I think that's it. So I think we're supposed to dedicate the rest of our time to answering any questions that you guys have. So drop any questions that you have. Don't be afraid to answer anything.
These could be like questions from class, questions about homework. If you want more tips for writing, one of your essays, you want multiple choice help. Maybe you want to go over notes more. Whatever you want, we're here to help.
Yes. Oh yeah, did the new AP World textbooks or review books come out yet? The modern ones?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, make sure you have the updated versions. Don't get the ones that aren't updated.
I mean, it's helpful to know like some of these earlier societies, but at this point, most of the information is unnecessary for the test. Disappointing, College Board.
Yeah. Would you have rather taken it like now while it was modern, or did you like the old one better?
I loved the old one. Like so many, especially in my school, we didn't learn about a lot of the ancient societies. We always focused on like, we're going to talk about Europe and we're going to talk about China, but then we never got to learn about all these different really interesting societies. Like you have early Americas, you have, the Islamic Golden Age. I didn't even learn about that until, March of last year. And it makes me so sad because it was so interesting.
Yeah, they cut out a lot of interesting stuff. Okay.
A few are planning to come out in January of 2020. Okay, yeah, that's helpful.
Okay, that's good.
So do we have any more questions?
Is there anything you guys want to know?
Okay, yeah. I have a slideshow on this, so I could probably share my screen. And I could just go over some of the key points from that one. Give me 1 second to find it.
I'll just close that one. Should we link the slideshow? Probably do that.
Yeah, I'll play it in a set presenter view. Okay, sharing the screen. Okay, can you guys see it? Great, okay. So I'm just gonna fast forward a bit in through these notes. Okay, I did this about 2 weeks ago. If you have the Fiveable Plus, you can view over it. But here we have Cornell notes. And basically Cornell notes, you have a summary on one side, you have your main notes on one side, or maybe some of the key points. And Cornell notes are helpful because they're very organized and you can see what your main ideas are. For me, I have terrible handwriting. So I don't really like Cornell notes because I can't read what I write. And then next up we have Flowchart Notes. And Flowchart Notes are really cool because they're great for visual learners. Like you can easily see cause and effect. You can see what branches off of other things. I think it's the Princeton Review book, but they have a really great flowchart of all the different causes and effects of the Industrial Revolution. But unless you're like a very fast writer or you are an expert at flowchart notes, they can take forever to write. So especially if you have like a time constraint, that's not ideal. And then we also have mind map notes. So mind map notes are helpful because you can visualize all of the key points. And like the flowchart notes, they're great for cause and effect. They're pretty similar though because they both take a lot of time to write. And then you have simple outline, and that's, I'm pretty sure we've all seen this one before. You have like a big idea, and then bam, you have an idea that's related to that, and then one that's related to that, and so on and so forth. These were actually notes that I took last year on the Byzantines. That's no longer part of the curriculum, though, I don't think. And then I think we could also go over what we can take notes on. Where is it? Oh, yeah, okay. You want to go over this slide?
Yes. So again, all of these that are listed are big like themes in AP World History. So you're gonna have to know causes, and you're also gonna have to know effects of each situation. So I would probably write down like the main cause like at the top, and then have like little bullet points showing like the effects of the cause. I think that's effective. Yes, change and continuity. So as always, things aren't always going to stay the same over time. Things are going to constantly be changing. So you're going to want to make sure to like, as the time periods go on, keep listing the changes in like social, political, economic structures. But you also want to be listing continuities too, because this is a big theme on the AP test. They'll probably ask you like, oh, how has this changed from like this period to this period, or what stayed the same between this period and this period? And they'll probably give you like social, political, or economic. So you're going to want to be making sure to keep up with all of that as the year goes on. Larger ideas. Yes, it's good to know all of the big social ideas, political ideas, economic movements. You want to have the smaller ideas down, but you also want to have the big main ideas listed down. So I would probably list like all the larger ideas, and then I'd bullet point like all the smaller ideas that relate to that one big idea. And you want to be sure you know all of your historical themes. Maybe I would write down like all of the themes, and then I'd subnote like all of the events maybe that go with that theme. And yeah, I think that's it. Anything else?
A lot of times when you're like reading through a notebook, they'll have like bold words or italicized words. And that's your book telling you, you should pay attention to this. This will be on the test. So there's always one time where we're just sitting in the back of our physics classroom, and then we realize that we had notes that were due for history class. Uh-oh, that never happened to me last year. So if you ever have to do last minute notes, my number one tip to you is to write down all those bold or italicized phrases or words. Or maybe at the beginning, you'll sometimes see like essential questions. So you want to answer that in your notes. But remember, that's only if you have very last minute, because those aren't really going to help in the long run. Do we have any more questions?
Anyone? Anything about AP World History? Any questions?
Oh, okay. So No problem. Remember to follow Think Fiveable. They're great.
Yes, we'll help you with your AP exams. Is that it? Nothing else?
I think so. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and I hope you guys got some tips off of this that you'll implement into your studying.
Have a great weekend.
Yes, have a great weekend. No problem, Donald. Bye.
Bye.